right, hey fools, here we go again. The next episode of Tea Talk is live, and in this episode we'll be talking about my theory of the Nintendo cycle. If you haven't checked that video out, go ahead and check it out. And I have my illustrious panel here with me, and we're going to start on the left, going with Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be here.
All right, wonderful. And newcomer, obviously everybody will be a newcomer because it's only my second episode. But next up we have 9 to 5 Gamers. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm 9 to 5 Gamers. I play pretty much everything for the most part. I mainly just enjoy finished games and good quality products.
Good call.
And thanks, Mr. T. Thanks for having me, by the way. It's awesome
man,
to be here.
Aboard. Love your channel. So I want to, get you out there, get you some more views, get you, acquainted with my fan base, and hopefully we can do more of these. All right, and next up we got the returner, Rob of Rule of Two Review.
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Rob from the channel Rule of Two Review, and super stoked to be on the second episode of Tea Talk. I was lucky enough to also be on the first one, so thanks for having me on, man, and it's good to meet you too, guys, and we'll get it going.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started, I guess. And we're going to be talking about, like I said, my recent, well, not my recent video, but my latest video on the theory of the Nintendo cycle. And if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. And I'll just go ahead and give a brief rundown because a lot of the questions from this podcast will be based on that. So basically, the first question is for my panel here. What are your thoughts on my theory of the Nintendo the revolutionary evolutionary cycle? I'm going to explain the video real quickly here for those of you who might not have read it. It's not a book. If you haven't seen it yet or listened to it, basically I'm saying that Nintendo has this internal cycle that I think is deliberate and is based on revolution to evolution. Basically, they make a revolutionary console first, and then they make an evolutionary one. So starting with the NES, that was the revolutionary console. Super Nintendo, evolutionary, the evolution of the NES. And then we have N64, the next revolution. And then GameCube was the evolutionary one. Wii was obviously the revolution. It was called Revolution as a code name. And then we have Wii U, which is the evolution of that. So, based on that theory, the next console will be a revolutionary console. So I just want you guys to give me your thoughts on my theory. What do you think about it? And we'll go ahead and start with Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, man. See, it's hard to try to predict Nintendo when it comes to stuff like this because they switch it up so much and flip everything up. So, come back to me. Come back to me. I'm collecting my thoughts. Come back to me.
All right. Go ahead, 9 to 5.
I have a big feeling that you stated that they were the first ones to come out with like the stationary controller and all that stuff. I have a feeling that they are the growth of that. They're the growth of like the analog joystick, obviously. Z targeting, which is used in 90% of the games we find today. Dragon Age Inquisition, Assassin's Creed, every one of them all use Z targeting, and Zelda is pretty much what made that. So I feel if they're not evolving as in their systems, they're evolving in the whole gaming industry in themselves.
Okay, so I'm confused. Do you agree somewhat, or are you?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I feel that they do it in a different way, because in your video, I get that they're doing it in the console way with the way they pretty much make a console for one reason, then a console for another reason, a console for one reason, console for another reason, then flip-flop back and forth like that. And I think that they do it in that aspect also as in the way that games are made. And a lot of companies jump onto that and roll with that with all these games using like Metroidvania style games,
Right.
All the retro games are pretty much jumping on board with that, with like Guacamelee and all that,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are stealing what they've done numerous years ago, and they're rolling with the same idea and just putting cleaner graphics on it,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I feel like, dude, after watching that video, it's almost impossible to refute it. It's like so accurate, and it just feels so right when you explain it, kind of the way you just did, which was like the quick version of one system is a revolution, and then the next system builds on some of the things that one put in place. It's completely true, especially when you match up those 6 systems and look at what they did. So it's of course exciting to think about how they'll take that business model into the future, and I know that's part of what we'll get to down the road. When you were saying 9 to 5 gamer, I agree with that too, but I want to make one amendment when you were talking about like the gameplay and how Nintendo, does this and they implement something revolutionary like Z-targeting, and then everyone else is doing it after that and all this. And you kind of mentioned it as they do things and then other people steal them. And like I see where you're coming from, but I feel like steal isn't really the best word. I think it's really Nintendo breaking the mold and having something revolutionary, and then people build and borrow from that.
Yeah, I feel they just did something and everyone realized that it was amazing, and then they're like, we need to use this in our game as well. You know what I'm saying? It's like they just switched the way people played games in a sense.
Yeah, in a good way. And I mean, Nintendo's been doing that for years, whether it's every innovation they've had on a controller or the motion control they did last generation with the Wii, or things like Z-targeting, like you said, and all of their game designs. And you made a perfect comparison with Guacamelee 2 and a lot of other games. We were just talking about Axiom Verge, which comes out for the PS4 and PC pretty soon, which they have outright said is inspired by the Metroid series. And a lot of games, and especially with the indie and retro stuff that's so big nowadays, that's only big because Nintendo basically created it 30 years ago. Yeah. So, and back to the main point, like you were saying, T, your theory, revolutionary than evolutionary. I personally agree 100%. I've owned every Nintendo system since the NES. And I've seen how they've done that over and over again, and it is interesting because the Wii was the revolution, like you said. The Wii U is obviously the evolution, and so you'd have to think that we're going to be looking at another revolution coming up next, but who knows where that'll go. So
yeah, only if my theory is sound.
Yeah, only if, and then they owe you credit if it happens.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, Jay, you ready to go?
Yeah. Okay. I agree. The thing is, like, it's one of those situations where when they put their mind on something, they actually make such a big and drastic change that it's easy to see it when you go in between the different console generations. So yeah, I think it's time for like probably more of a revolution on this next one. I just don't have an idea of where they can possibly go. But then again, I never thought to put a gamepad together on a system, so I would have never thought of that. So I mean, it's one of those things where I'm actually excited just because I know it usually is something out there, but it actually works well. I mean, the only thing that didn't really work well was Virtual Boy. So that they've done, honestly.
Right, and it was Virtual Boy is kind of a precursor, if you will, to the 3D capabilities on the 3DS. So it wasn't all for naught.
Yeah.
I was thinking that would be kind of cool if they would actually release some of those Virtual Boy games for 3DS.
It's weird that you said that because I actually have a Virtual Boy. It's probably my favorite rare collectible that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally a piece of junk, and one of the eyes doesn't work, so it's actually the only 2D Virtual Boy. But other than that, just the other day, I was actually randomly thinking, gosh, they should have made like a Metroid game and like a Zelda game, all these things they probably would have envisioned making for the Virtual Boy. And that market technically would exist now because of the 3DS. So
Right.
It's just kind of funny that you brought that up because I was just thinking that the other day.
Yeah, and obviously they have on Game Boy or 3DS, they have Game Boy games and they're monochrome. They're 2 colors, and so it wouldn't be a nice little retro kind of throwback if they release some of those games. There's only like, what, 12 of them, if that.
Yeah.
I think 15 to 20. Is that right, or am I wrong?
I think it's lower than that.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe 8 to 12 or somewhere around there.
If anyone's curious, you should watch the AVGN review of the Virtual Boy because he goes over every single game that was ever released.
He does. I saw it. I just don't remember it that well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
It's crazy.
Point. Yeah. All right. I guess we can move on then. The next part. Do you think the Fusion rumors, that is the Nintendo Fusion rumors for the next console, might be true? And if so, what specifically about them do you hope are going to happen for the next Nintendo console?
Can I ask a quick question before you go
Sure,
into
go
that?
ahead.
Is I actually know a little bit about that, but maybe not as much as you do. So I'm curious if you can like explain it a little bit better, or what you know about the rumor.
All right, cool. Well, basically, I don't remember the specs and all that. I don't really care. That's probably why I don't remember. But the specs were supposedly really kind of ridiculous, kind of crazy out there. I don't really care about. I don't really think people know what the specs will be. Even obviously it's a rumor, and usually specs-wise, rumors aren't rarely come to fruition. So basically, some of the bigger things about it was that. And this was a good rumor because we know that Nintendo merged their handheld and console division together as far as the software goes. They recently did that, like in the last year.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right. So one of the things about the Fusion console was that the handheld was somehow supposedly work with the home console, maybe even as a controller if you wanted to do that. But basically, they'll be sharing software. So we have the kind of cross-buy thing that you have on PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. You'll be able to like buy a game, and it'll work for both handheld and the home console. So that was one of the major things about it that I was looking, that I thought might be true based on what Nintendo said they were actually doing. So
yeah, that's pretty close to, I think, a lot of the rumors that I heard about it. That idea of when they did restructure their handheld and console division pretty recently, like you were saying, and that I guess it was maybe going to be a system that was built around that. That was kind of what I thought, but I wanted to make sure because I wasn't.
And then there was that whole what do you call it? I can't remember the name of that technology, that screen, Jay. You know what I'm talking about? That it was
the one that they can cut, the one that they can cut into any shape and all that.
Yeah.
The patent that they bought. Yeah.
Right. And that was supposed to be, for the next console. I still, even based on what they told us about that, I really don't know what would be so special coming out of that technology. I mean, it'd be cool, obviously, to see that, but.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where because it's Nintendo, like we might never be able to envision what they could do with that, but then they would come out and do something like totally unique and amazing, hopefully amazing.
All right. So even I don't have a lot of specifics because like I said, I didn't really pay that much attention to the specs talk.
Sure. And, even the basic idea gives you enough to go off of.
Right.
So.
You think it would be, obviously it's going to be more powerful, at least more powerful than the current consoles that we have. But you never know with Nintendo, so.
That's true.
But I think they will go decently powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And but other than that, I thought the fusion basically between the handheld and the console was a big deal. So I guess we can kind of merge this because, like I said, I don't have that much information on the rumors. We can kind of merge this with the next question and kind of put it all together. Basically, based on what I just said, what would you be looking forward to as far as the next console goes? And what like we just said, it's hard to speculate on Nintendo's revolutionary stuff. But what would you like to see basically in the next console that you think would be really cool and something Nintendo might be able to do? And go ahead. We'll start with 9 to 5.
Me and my buddies at work actually talk about this quite a bit with the next console generation in general, not just meaning Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel Nintendo is going to be the first one to really do something like you say and do something that's going to change the game. They're going to change the way that everyone perceives the systems right now. And I have a feeling what they're going to do is you have your 3DS and you have your Wii U. I have a feeling that they're going to have it so the system is mainly your handheld device, and you're going to come home and put your handheld on a dock, and then you're going to pick up a controller, so you'll be able to play it on the go and you'll be able to play it in your house.
Okay, so you're saying the actual console will be a handheld, and you can.
Yes, I think it will, or we'll have a peripheral that will be a handheld that will work with the system as well, and the cross-buy system will work on it, as you said, like with the PS4 and PS Vita. Only it will work better, because I And I think I don't know if it would have a dock where the handheld would set on it, or if you would just have to plug it into a HDMI, or what the deal would be. But because of them linking up together with their handheld and their console in one building, I highly believe that they're going to do something like that, where the handheld is going to be the system.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I think I had heard somebody say something like that before. That's a pretty cool idea there. What do you think, Jay?
I think the same. I know a lot of people have been wanting that, that connection between the handheld and the home console, kind of like what Sony tried to do with the Vita and the PS3 and PS4. And I think that's what they're probably going to do, is make it where it actually works like it should. That's why I think like all the stuff like with the NNIDs and all that stuff is coming into play. They're testing all this stuff out, so that at least they'll have that part done by the time it actually comes out.
Right.
So I think it's going to be something to that effect, but also they'll still retain their handheld business, because they make a killing in the handheld market.
Yeah.
They do really well in it. So I think you'll still have your whatever it's going to be, because we don't know. So you still have your handheld, but you'll be able to bring that handheld home and actually, like 9 to 5 said, be able to pick it up where you left off.
Right.
Or like with the way, like we talked about before, with the way the 3DS is laid out button-wise, they could easily do it with the new 3DS because it has all the same buttons as the Wii U does right now,
Yeah, it could
it's
be like the
obviously-
first step of trying to do that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and give your answer, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I guess basically I just kind of want to build on that, because I think that's a super good idea, and it would make sense for Nintendo, kind of because, like you were saying, Jay, like Nintendo obviously makes such a killing on the handheld, and it's probably what sparked them to merge their handheld and console divisions, a year or two ago, and where the rumors of the Fusion idea even comes from. And the idea of the controller actually being like a handheld device and actually being the console itself is pretty cool, and it would almost kind of oddly deliver on like that first reveal trailer where everyone thought that the system might have actually been the controller. It was like really confusing when they did that at E3, and it would almost kind of become that, which would be sort of funny. But I think that it's a good idea. I could see Nintendo wanting to take their ability to let their gamers play their games into new space by saying no matter where you go, it's always with you. I feel like it would maybe be less of the controller being the system and maybe more of the controller can become the system and become mobile. Like if it was like a more efficient kind of gamepad, and it's like, well, like the system is still the system, which would be the box underneath your TV, but the controller is like a gamepad, only maybe better, and you can actually fold that thing up and take it with you and still be playing your same console games from home wherever you go, and then you come home and you dock it, like you said, 9 to 5, and then it all links up and you've got the same experience continuing. I think that's pretty cool. They love their handheld stuff. What's tough about that is they would run the risk of alienating their current handheld market, and then it's like, well, why do you need a 3DS or the next 3DS or whatever if your Wii U 2 has a controller that lets you do the same thing? So that would probably be the one reason I could see them not doing it that way and still trying to keep it like specifically a home experience. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely think that, and even going back to the Fusion thing, I think there's something to the Fusion thing. They did that for a reason. I think that they're working on a lot of software that's meant to work between their console and their handheld, and maybe it's supposed to be their next console and their next handheld, and there's probably going to be maybe that's really more the purpose. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, you made a good point there about alienating the heart of the handheld market and the home console market, because we all know that obviously that's the strongest market. The handhelds has been that way pretty much since Game Boy was released back in '89. So
yeah, they would become like their own worst competition.
Right.
Which isn't really super ideal, I don't think.
Right. But the good thing about that is that obviously there's a lot of software developers for Nintendo that are tied up to the handhelds that would be also making stuff for home consoles, and that would help them with the keeping games out there for the home consoles. So there's it's kind of a a good thing and a bad thing, because I love I love the handhelds, I love the consoles too, and I just I would hope they can continue giving us both of them, but
I think they will, because there's too much potential success to be seen in two markets, and they're so dominant in the handheld space, and they're the only company that is. So I think that they know they could never give that up.
right.
Not to mention, look at Japan in the 3DS. You know what I'm saying? Like, Japan in 3DS is crazy.
Yeah, so, yeah, because it's meant to be. That's like why they created Spot Pass, because it's in a place like Japan where it's so mass transit and it's so overpopulated, and people walk and ride buses everywhere, way more than in America.
Oh,
So
well, New York's like that though. I go
it's
to
true.
New York,
There
I
are
get hit up all the
cities.
time.
Yeah, there are cities in America that are that way, but Japan, like the whole culture of the whole country is that
Right.
way. So it's a good point. You're right. Like, they created it to capitalize on how people live their life and still want a game in Japan. So, the new 3DS has been stupidly successful, way more than even I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be. So they're doing just fine in the handheld. I don't see them stopping it anytime soon.
Right. And there's part of me that wonders if just because they give you a handheld that will give you a home console experience. I mean, there's probably going to be games that just won't work on the handheld.
Sure.
And you'll have to have the home console to get. It's kind of like the new 3DS, where there's certain games that will play on that won't play on the older models. Kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So I mean,
See,
there's
and I want that stuff. Like, personally, I want to have a handheld, unit that justifies why it makes sense to play this game on a handheld, and I
Right.
want my games that justify why it makes sense to play on a console on my big TV.
yeah,
So
completely agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, so
Sure.
they need to both kind of deliver on what they're supposed to be, I think.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic then. All right, so I recently did a video to Shokyo, response video to him about his premise. His video was about how Wii U has some of the highest rated exclusives this generation, and it's still not selling as well as the competition, which has thus far had a lot of games not living up to expectations. And but they, obviously those consoles still seem to sell pretty well. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think Nintendo must do with their next console to hopefully make it more popular, to ensure better sales next time around? Obviously, this whole handheld merging thing would be one step, but what do you think? What else could they do? Maybe feature-wise, even. What do you think? So let's start with Rob. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did make a video on this exact topic. I had someone ask me a question on my ideas for a next system for Nintendo, and so a couple of weeks ago I did make a really thorough video about this. And if I can plug myself, I encourage everyone to go and watch it. A lot of people liked it, and it was all theoretical, so it's pretty cool. So if I was to bring some of those ideas into this, the first thing, not necessarily talking about what we maybe want, but something Nintendo needs to do to make themselves more successful and get over this weird stigma that prevents people from understanding why we think they're so great. The number one thing is they need to get rid of the name the Wii. Like, it's got to go. It's been a good 10 years, and it's been a good 2 generations, and they're really good systems, but that thing is done, and gamers just won't respond to it anymore. And sadly, that's what we've learned with the Wii U. It's a system that, all of us and a lot of people recognize as having the best library. It has the best library compared to its competition, and no one is buying it. So that's a humongous problem. It makes no sense. And to be fair, I think that the Wii brand, like that moniker, is probably just started to do damage. At this point, like, people just associate it with a different kind of system and a different kind of game and a different kind of gamer. So I kind of think that they should, and I also think they will. I believe that their plan, my personal theory, is to do that. I think the next system will come out and be a brand new thing. So if they do that, they rebrand themselves as a whole different kind of Nintendo than people have gotten to know the last 10 years. And that could, like, wake more people up to it outside of, like, Nintendo fans like all of us. People who used to play Nintendo and then left with the Wii might say, oh, yeah, like, Nintendo's awesome again because now they got this cool, slick black thing, and it's called, like, the Revolution Bazooka Kill, and so people get all excited about that or whatever. And like those small things can make such a big difference to other people and to waking other developers and other gamers up to Nintendo again. So that's probably the number one thing that I think they could and should and will do. And then I think about other simpler things like whatever they do with the controller needs to be pretty specific and awesome, whether it's the Fusion thing, whether it's the handheld thing that we talked about, whether they go back to just a regular controller. Like, we can't even totally discount that idea. Maybe they try that again. So, you know, they could do something like that. I think that they need to also be really, like, upfront, not upfront, but just really, like, abrasive with their online marketing and how the system connects online. Like, they need to finally figure that thing out and make people understand that the online network for Nintendo is just as good, if not better, as the competitions. So those are huge things. Work with Facebook. You know, Miiverse could actually stay around. Maybe make Miiverse work in tandem with things like Facebook and Twitter, because everyone uses those, and it would be easier to do so than it would now. And those are the kinds of things that other gamers who maybe have left Nintendo or don't like Nintendo would probably want out of a system. And things like achievements and the cross-game chat, which we've all talked about. You know, some people may think they're kind of like not very important things, but when you look at the larger gaming space, it is pretty important, and people do care about those. And those kinds of things, I think, would help win other people back. And then there's the whole third-party conversation, which I'll let you guys talk about that. But then the third-party games, obviously, those need to come back, too, to bring more people back to Nintendo. So I feel bad because since I already made a video, I had a bunch of kind of prepared answers in my head, so I'm sorry about that, guys. But I talked about it for 20 minutes on a video, and those are kind of some of the points that I thought about. But those are my ideas.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Justin. Go ahead and tell us what you think.
I think Rob is right on a lot of stuff that he had to talk about. Those are all like very, very good points. To be honest with you, with the whole third-party thing, they're not missing the games. They're just missing the people that come with the games. Because the games, to be honest, like I play every game, and there's nothing on any system that is intriguing me enough to be like, you need to buy a PS4 or an Xbox One, you know? There's a lot of stuff that intrigues you and that is coming up to buy Nintendo consoles. You know what I'm saying? But on the line of what they need to do, I feel they need to make their internet super solid, like not the gaming aspect of it, because I've never played a Nintendo game that really was bad online. Like I played, well, as of right now, I've got 50-some hours in the new Monster Hunter game, and that's on their handheld device, you know, and I haven't gotten kicked once. Right. So that game is super solid online, and I feel that they need to do that and make their internet free. If people, that will talk to people. If they come out and they have party chat and all this other stuff, cross-game chat, whatever you want to call it, and they make it so there is no fee, people will jump boat no matter what console they're on, because that speaks to people. When
That's
things
true.
come and it's free and it's a good quality service.
Great, excellent point. I just want to do a head count. Everybody in here has all current gen consoles right now. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Jay, you do. Justin, you do. And
do you?
Rob,
do you, T?
I don't. Yeah. I don't have a PS4 yet.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, so just wanted to let the viewers know we're all well-rounded gamers here. So, go ahead, Jay.
Oh boy, what they can do. One, like you said, Rob, they got to ditch the name. I mean, the name just has like that stigma attached to it now. So, I mean, it's time to think outside the box on the naming convention. And while they're at it, hire people to actually know how to name stuff. just saying, that's just a small thing for me.
You don't like the new 3DS?
You know how confused people must be? Like they're buying the old version.
Wait, it's not
talk about it.
Yeah. So
Mr. T, you made a video where you said they should have called it the Super Nintendo 3DS.
Yes.
I about lost my mind. I was like, that's so brilliant. Why didn't they do that? It's so good.
Go ahead,
and honestly, I think as far as like the third party stuff is concerned, a lot of this stuff happened with the bad press that they got at the beginning in 2012 and for the most part of 2013. It kind of, and I know it's gonna sound like defense force. But the problem, the fact of the matter is, they got railroaded in the media, but they never said anything. They got to stop doing. I know they're a Japanese company and they're humble and all that, but when people's flat out lying, you can't let that happen. I'm sorry. I mean, there was so many times where you had so many different gaming journalists, and I'm not gonna name names, but they were flat out lying about the system. And I'm like, I have the system, and what you're saying is not true. Like, they should have said something. So you can't allow. I know you have to play nice, but at the same time, I don't see them doing it to nobody else.
You ain't gotta play nice, but nobody else playing nice. Why you gotta play nice for?
Yeah, so
exactly.
that's what I'm saying.
It's true, yeah.
They need to, like, I mean, like I said before, I know they're Japanese, humble and all that. They need to bring out the ninjas. So,
They need to bring out the ninjas.
some of that stuff that Yamamuchi did not put up with, they need to go back to that. So
yeah, there was a time where they didn't put up with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I was recently
they crossed them like that. So I mean, they need to do that on the third party front. There's not much you can really do because Nintendo has that standard quality. They're not gonna let you put a game on their system that ain't gonna work. So
look how they treated Bayonetta. You know, they told them, nope, you can make it run better, you can make it look better, do that. You know, which is good because they made one of probably the best games past year. You know,
and it hasn't had to be patched yet.
Nope.
So that's the thing. Like Ubisoft, they're not going to be able to release Assassin's Creed with like 15 patches and it still not work. That's not going to happen on a Nintendo system. That's why that's part of the problem with when people say they need the third parties back. I kind of agree and I kind of don't because of the simple fact, and I think it's because I own the other consoles. So I do play some of those games from time to time. I'm like, I'm not buying this. I won't buy this on this system. I'm going to take this back. So I think, like, as far as the third party's content is concerned, they'll probably want them back when they actually start doing what they're supposed to, which is making quality content and stuff that doesn't need to be day one patches and it's still 2 months later and stuff features for the game still don't work properly.
Yeah, it seems like their quality control is what kind of has prevented a lot of the third parties from showing up. Because it's like, well, we actually care about the quality of our games and what our gamers play, so you all can have that. We'll just do our own thing.
Yeah, and I know some people like, well, they still need third parties. I'm like, yeah, but if they're not giving you quality, why would you want that anyway?
Right. I mean, just because gamer standards are that low, don't mean Nintendo standards are gonna change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing too. Like, it kind of goes back to what 9 to 5 you said. You said something great at the beginning where you're like, it's not that Nintendo needs the games from third parties; they need the gamers that come with. And that was perfectly said because that's exactly what I agree. Like, obviously, we don't need those games, and I'm with you, Jay, and actually all of you guys. Like, I have all three systems, and I buy games for all three systems. So those multi-plats and those third parties, like, I'll get the chance to play them for sure. But Nintendo doesn't really need them. But if they do want to be more successful and have a larger audience, that's where it does become a benefit. So it's a double-edged sword, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
So,
my thoughts on third parties as far as Nintendo, they should probably focus on getting, like, the major, holiday titles if they can, and don't focus on trying to get everything. But, like, I just wish they would go back to what they were starting to do with N64 and beginning of GameCube when they had Nintendo Sports. They had their own. They were making their own sports games. They had Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. They had what's that? Kobe Bryant basketball, which were awesome games. I love those games. They had Excite Bike. I mean, they were trying to build their own kind of infrastructure, their own internal core, because EA was doing that silly stuff back then too. This is not nothing new. This isn't specific to Wii U. This has been going on for a while, 20 years almost. So at this point, they should already be there. They should know better by now what they were going to get. And obviously, a lot of us feel like they tried to let the third parties do their thing early on with Wii U, and they underperformed big time. And then they jumped ship. So you can't.
Yeah, but we all
can't
know
trust
that
them.
was more on those third parties than it was Nintendo or the gamer. Like, it's such a double-edged sword because those
Right.
games weren't very quality, and they released.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, those games were not high quality at all, and because
Missing stuff.
right, and because they can get away with that stuff on other consoles, animosity builds when it comes to Nintendo. It's like, oh, well, Nintendo gonna give us all this, headache, trying to release these broken ass games.
They're going to give us all this headache and make sure that our games are good. Ugh.
Right. So, they don't want to deal with them, and that's what they mean by, when they used to say stuff like, oh, they're stuck in the 90s. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about, their quality control. And
they're stuck in the 90s when games worked, and that's what they're still trying to do.
Exactly.
How dare they?
And if you look at it, if a lot of these third parties would have came over and made a legit attempt and used the pad the way it's supposed to be used, like for instance when Zombie U was made, Zombie U was an amazing game that used the pad to its ability. And none of these third parties did it. Watch Dogs rarely used it, and Watch Dogs, dude, that game is made for the pad. With all the hacking and stuff you do, they should have made their own hacking system just for the Wii U gamepad, and it would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, especially with an extra 6 months of development.
Right.
Yeah,
especially
all
after
these
talking
games,
it up,
man.
saying that the Wii U version was the version that was influencing the other versions. Remember that?
Idiots. They're so dumb. God. Oh, man. Makes me so mad when I think about it, too. And it's... Like at the risk of going into another deep topic, that whole idea 9 to 5 is something that I've been complaining about for a while because I feel like the problem with those third-party games is that Nintendo has, I've said this so many times, they have provided developers a tool to make their games better, to make them unique, to bring out creative ideas. If Nintendo says, here's a gamepad, do cool things with this to make your games something you would never have been able to make anywhere else or never thought of before, go for it. And all these third parties are just like, it's a map, and it's a really bad map at that. The end.
Yeah, like, let's just print everything over and give you a map on the bottom screen. Oh, good job.
That's
good
not
job.
Nintendo's fault, and it's not the Wii U's fault, and it's not the gamers' fault for not buying them. That's the developer's fault, because to me, the gamepad is kind of exposing third-party developers as uncreative and unimaginative. If they can't look at that thing and think, man, there's so many cool things we could do with this. We don't care about making a game just to make money. We want to make a game that's also awesome, and it's fresh, and no one's ever seen before. And thank you, Nintendo, for providing the only system and the only platform that allows us to think of new ideas. They can't think of new ideas on the other consoles. Like, I like those consoles, but you can't think of new ideas. But the gamepad is a perfect example of a way to think of something new. And if you don't make a game and make it feel new and fresh on that gamepad and on that system, it's you, the developer, who wasn't creative enough to find a way to make a brand new game. So that's my theory.
Right.
Zelda is going to make them all look bad. When Zelda comes out and they use the gamepad, people's minds are going to fucking blow up. I swear.
Well, it's kind of funny. Tamanobu Itagaki, I love that guy, by the way.
He the man.
He's with Devil's Third. If you hear how he talks about how positively he talks about Nintendo, you're like, okay, well, where is all this hatred coming from? Is it really like they're really pissed at the console itself, or is it the fact that they don't know how to work it, they don't know how to think about it? Like when you hear people like Hideki Kamiya, the guys from Shinin, you hear Itagaki, you hear all these guys saying positive things. But then you got Anonymous at EA talking trash.
It's because Nintendo's not paying them that big bag of money that they want.
To get all their games.
Yeah, they want all the games, and then they want give us a cut of money to get exclusive content, season passes, and all this stuff. And to be honest with you, with all the games that are coming out, when you spend $100, no matter what game you buy nowadays, because you need a season pass, you need to buy the game, you need to buy the expansion packs, and all this other shit. I don't want to do that. I want to spend $60 on a quality-made game that's finished, that doesn't need all these patches, and I don't need to buy a season pass, Yep. And then when Nintendo does make a season pass, it's like Mario Kart. It's $11, and they give you your money's worth, beyond your money's worth.
The game.
Yeah. The game was already complete with enough content before they decided to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and they even announced it. If I'm not mistaken, did they announce that after the game released? Right?
Yeah, it was after. It was way after.
Yeah.
Wait,
That
Yeah,
is
not
how
the
you
same
do
day the game
DLC.
comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, we all speculated that it might happen. Obviously, that they would
But
have.
we didn't know it was gonna be like that.
We had no idea. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they'll like for $10 they'll release like 2 new racers or something.
Right.
And I would have been like, oh, okay. And then instead they gave us so much more, and I was like, this can't even be real, but it was real.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
And that's another reason why third parties are really hating them right now.
Yeah, because they're not willing to do that.
They're exposing them left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys talked about it earlier. I have no doubts that the Wii name will be dropped. Nintendo rarely keeps. They've never kept a name or a subname for more than 2 consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Nintendo, it was the NES, and it was Super NES, and then they moved on to Nintendo 64. So yeah, we will definitely be done after this. You know, and the sad thing is that the Wii didn't have to be a stigma, but because in my estimation they dropped the Wii U too late to build on that momentum of the Wii. You know what I'm saying? Like,
do you mean the name or the console?
No,
itself?
I mean the console itself. Like, if the Wii U would have came out in say 2011, they would have had a better shot at keeping people intrigued, because there was a whole year of basically nothing but maybe what was it, Zelda.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda came out, and a couple other games. You know, your dance. What are the dance game that comes out every year from Ubisoft?
Just Dance.
Just Dance, right? And so there was really nothing between like early 2011 to like Wii U came out.
Yeah,
So,
the name was so dead for like over a year by the time. Yeah, it's a good point.
So if that hadn't happened, they might have been able to roll into Wii U a lot better, and but obviously they didn't. So yeah, I mean, you guys made a lot of great points as far as that goes. Actually, our next question kind of tied in a little bit. Not really. I wanted to make a point. I don't know why I completely forgot. We kind of talked about it a little bit about the handheld consoles as well being on that same cycle. And I didn't make that in the video for whatever reason. The video was so damn long, I just forgot, I guess. But yeah, so the handhelds as well. Obviously, the Game Boy dropped, and it was a revolution. Sold like crazy. I'm sure that had a lot to do with Tetris, because Tetris was that game. And that game sold gangbusters and basically sold the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have a portable handheld console to that extent where you have interchangeable cartridges was never done before.
Oh, that blew my mind. I was like
Right.
9 years old, and I couldn't even process how
It was just
awesome
amazing,
was.
right? It was just
Yeah.
like, because we had those raggedy Tiger electronic things. Those were just
Tiger
trash.
Electronics.
They were
Oh
just
my
trash.
god, I haven't heard that in so long.
Every year I would get one taken away by my teacher in school.
Those things for the little processing they destroyed your battery life, and they just were crap. They were bad.
But you thought they were awesome when you were a kid. You were like, this
yeah,
is great.
you did. But even then, I still hated them to some degree. I loved them, but I also didn't like them.
Like in the back of your mind, you knew it was terrible, but
Yes.
you just wanted it to be awesome. So.
Exactly. And obviously, before that, Nintendo had the Game & Watch, which was similar to the Tiger stuff. But even those consoles seem to be better than the Tiger stuff for just, I guess, the quality of the games and the build. But yeah, obviously the Game Boy evolved into the Game Boy Advance. And I'm not going to count like the Game Boy Color, because that's still the same hardware, but it just added color. First, color to the casing, and then actual color to the screen. Because Nintendo was a little stubborn before they gave us color on the Game Boy. So, but Advance came out, and obviously it was an Advance, so it was an evolution of the Game Boy. And then you had the DS, which was again the revolution. And it wasn't just a revolution for, I thought, handhelds. It was a revolution for just portable devices, because to me, and hopefully to most people, the DS led into what we have with smartphones and stuff. There were games on those little PDAs and portable devices before.
It was all Snake.
DS, but it was all like Snake. It was just it wasn't really that viable until the DS came out, and people said, "Oh, this we can do all this cool stuff now. And now we have the 3DS, which is the evolution of that. So we kind of talked about the handheld. Let's just because we talked about it being a merging of the handheld with the portable for the next console. Let's just say if it's not that, and what would you want to see from a revolution for the handheld for Nintendo's next handheld? And go ahead and you can go ahead and start it, Justin.
Oh man, I don't know, man. Like to be honest with you, the new 3DS is no lie the best handheld that I've ever played any games on. And I've had the XL, I have the Vita, you know what I'm saying? And I think the new 3DS destroys everything I've ever played, like on a high level. But at the same time, I think that I think they're gonna ditch the 3D and go with a higher quality screen. Like a lot of people like the 3D, but for that upgrade in screen, like whether they go OLED or LCD or whatever they want to do, I think that's the way that they're going to go. They're going to put higher quality screens on both sides, and that might have something to do with that patent that we were talking about earlier with the screen. So they might use that along with the handhelds. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to go cartridge or full digital either, because they're using the micro SD card now, which you can get those for pretty cheap, which that might counteract them into being fully digital. You know what I'm saying? Because they've been trying to get into the digital game here and there with certain games. Shit, a lot of people trying to buy Monster Hunter right now. That's the only way they can get that game is digitally. So the micro SD card is really helping them out with that aspect. The Vita, no one's going to do it on because they use the weird standard memory card that costs like $180 for a decent sized one, you know?
Right.
So I think that they'll do that. They'll make a better screen. They'll probably keep the size about the same because the size is perfect in my eyes. The XL, it's a little bit too big, but I think that has a lot to do with how thick it is. And if you go any thinner, it would cramp your hand.
Right.
It would make your hand cramp up like the Vita does.
Okay. So, all right. What about you, Jay? What do you think?
I actually agree. I think they're gonna probably ditch the 3D. As much as I like the 3D, especially on the new 3DS, I enjoy it way better than I did on the older one. I think they're probably gonna ditch the 3D aspect. And like you said, Justin, it's probably gonna be more of a higher resolution screen. But I think they're still gonna keep with the dual screen format.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I don't see them going away.
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Yeah.
Right.
I don't see them going away from that for right now. For some reason, I don't. It works for what they're doing.
I think it's before you go further on. I think it's a genius idea to have it dual screen because you can close it. Because when you carry a Vita around, dude, the whole time I have it in my pocket, I'm like, I'm gonna scratch the shit out of this with keys or change or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's the protective nature of that clamshell.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But I also think they might ditch it too. That's just I don't know. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Well, the main reason I think they're gonna ditch is because they like changing stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean that's the only reason why I think they're gonna ditch it. I don't think they're gonna ditch it just because it's that time. I just think they like changing. They like keeping people on their toes. But I do think they're gonna keep the dual screen just because I think right at this point, especially looking at what they did with the Wii U, like that's what the whole thing is. It's that type of gameplay. Other than that, I really don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, like you said, Justin, it's perfect.
It really is. It really is. Like, and I'm not being biased because I'm a fan of all games. I play everything. I'm not like a fanboy of this, a fanboy of that. I play everything, and I legitimately think that this handheld is the best handheld created to date.
Yeah, because I have a Vita as well, and I'm like, I'm sorry, the new one just, especially with the face tracking on the 3D.
Dude, it's genius.
Yeah. I think it's the best thing that's out right now, handheld wise.
I think it's the best thing out, handheld and console wise.
Just about.
But yeah, go ahead. Are you done with your thoughts,
Yeah,
Jay?
I'm done.
All right, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know where to go, and like all you guys bring up like super good points, and I agree that the 3D probably makes sense to go. Jay, what you said is totally right. Like we know that they want to change it up and they don't want to get stagnant, and I just think that when it comes to the handheld, like the idea of their next handheld, I think we're kind of getting into the territory of it being like exceptionally difficult to predict where they're going to go, because it's like what else can you do with a handheld that would change the game? And like I was thinking, like, oh, maybe it no longer becomes a clamshell. Maybe it only does have one screen, so we're not going to have two screens and touch screens and all that. But it's like that's not really a revolution because that's what everything was before the 3DS, and that's what the Vita is right now, and phones are right now. So going, either staying with two screens isn't a revolution. Going to one screen isn't a revolution. I sure as heck don't see them going to three screens, so I don't know why they would ever do that. It's just, I just don't know what it is that they would do next. I just want it to be another great system, and I want it to keep having the same great games. Obviously, what you said, Justin, the better quality screen, the higher resolution, I'm sure we're going to get that for sure. But again, that's not a revolution. So whatever they would do to change it up, that's like really, really hard to predict. The only weird, and I mean seriously weird idea that comes into my head is if it's like a like a unit that you would like build, so to speak, or like it's in one shape when you pull it out of your pocket, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to play a game, and then you need to like pull some things out and twist them and turn them and put them back together, and it's like, oh, I can create it so that it feels like this, or I can create it that it feels like this. Or maybe it's two different things and I use one in each hand to do something like that. And obviously we're getting like into way crazy stuff, but that's like the only thing that my brain can think of. So I just don't know. Like they might only be doing a better version of what the 3DS is going forward, And I think T, you said you think that they might keep the two. Oh no, Jay, you said you think they might keep the two screens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know. I guess they might have to do that for the sake of the protection, but I don't know if that would be a revolution, right? So who knows?
Or they could just make a super strong screen. You know what I'm saying? Because that's half the battle with like when you carry around a Vita. If you don't have it in a case, you're worried about that screen getting scratched or whatever the case may be. If you make a screen that's not, I don't know what kind of crazy technology they have now.
Well, we know that they started working with Samsung recently, right? To work with something, and they're big on like the curved, bendable kind of screens. So I wonder if it's something like that, where you like wrap the screen, or maybe you can put the screen in a different shape based on what kind of game you're playing.
Or based on your hand shape, which would help for people who get crampy hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
For big-handed people, it'd work perfect.
Like you mold the system, and I really think that the idea of molding the screen would be more of a revolutionary kind of thing. Like, oh, a shooter requires this kind of screen in this shape and in this angle, and then like an RPG, like a top-down RPG like Fire Emblem requires the screen to be in this shape at this angle, and there might be some sort of crazy out there idea that we could never possibly think of now that they're trying to do with that. But that still seems pretty far-fetched too, so it's a tough answer, so I don't know. What do you think, T? Do you have any other ideas yourself?
Yeah, I was going to say I thought somebody would grab this one because I thought it was one of the more obvious ones.
No, go for it.
It's not really revolutionary. It's kind of evolutionary in the way the Wii U is. And my idea would be for Nintendo to find a way to merge either Android or iTunes into the next console somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they'd still be able to deliver their games, either retail or digital, but they'd also have like software that would be able to run Android-based games or games from iTunes or something as well. Basically making a iPod Touch-like device built into their console, into the handheld.
Do you think working like specifically with like iTunes and Android, or like making their own service that's like the same thing?
Yeah, I think it would be something similar to like a Steam, kind of deal.
Yeah. Okay.
So they can have both of those, both of the fan bases, or the systems from Android and iTunes. So yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Somebody touched on it a while ago. I can't remember who it was that gave me that idea. And they, I thought that, that's kind of a cool idea, kind of a good idea, because that way they can technically do mobile games, you know.
Yeah, they
And
They
could.
do their own version of mobile
And
games.
you
They
get a
could.
different you'd
Go
get a
ahead.
different crowd buying your product too. You
Right,
know, like
right.
people who are obsessed with whatever it may be, whether it be Flappy Birds or whatever the hell people play on their phone. You know,
Still play
they'll
those, right?
yep, they could still play those plus get a quality actual console game that you
Exactly.
can play.
Well, I think that's what they're even doing with like I can't remember now that new Mario game coming out and like the new Pokemon Shuffle game or
Right,
whatever that
right,
was and
right.
the Dungeons and
Exactly.
Dragons, what was that, Swords and Dragons game?
Yeah,
Like those are like mobile games. And
they are.
in that
Yes.
in that same video where I talked about like a new Nintendo console recently, I kind of touched on the same idea where it's like, they could kind of spread to the mobile idea a little bit if they created their own app store that would actually be used not on their own handheld. So it's like similar to what you're talking about, T, but kind of different. I was like, what if they just made a Nintendo app store that you would download on your iPhone or your Android phone, and then Nintendo made games and had a division specifically dedicated to making mobile games, maybe with Nintendo characters, like that Pokemon Shuffle game.
Right.
And like that's a game you really don't want to play on your, $200 3DS, but your iPhone, you might want to download that Pokemon Shuffle game for 99 cents or whatever. And they could maybe kind of work with the mobile market in that way. And then I think there would be an opportunity to make the mobile market work in conjunction with their next handheld, kind of like you're saying, T. So that's actually a really good idea. It's
Yeah.
a huge market.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. Because a lot of kids, my kids even, my son has a 2DS, but my daughter, she's 3, he's 5, and they much as they like the 2DS, they're on that damn mobile device
Yeah.
a whole lot. So what?
There's no buttons. It's easier.
Yeah, it's just it's easy to manipulate. It's simple, kind of like when the Wii came out. People just saw it and they're like, oh. And that's one of the reasons that the Wii U wasn't as accessible to that same crowd,
Yeah.
because you're back to a traditional controller. So yeah, I mean, I
Well-
just think that would be a genius move to be able to offer the mobile quickie games that people like, and have those stores that still would work. Maybe you can plug in that device into a computer, and
That would be very smart for them to
wouldn't
do.
that be a great idea? So.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
Yeah, I
It
think
also
that's
makes
what
me
they
wonder, the thing that I just said actually just sparked that idea in my own head, is what if the next actual system, as far as like what the unit was like, and I don't know if this would be a great idea or not, but I could see them maybe doing this. What if they went with something that didn't have actual traditional buttons, and it was, I think actually Jamie, who was going to be on the podcast tonight but couldn't make it, he said something before where he talked about it being like a full touch screen. It's only like almost like an iPad, and you could almost like pull it together, or you could fold it in the middle so that there wasn't like a break between your top and bottom screen the way there is now. Like they're two completely separate entities. Like there could be something where maybe they go away from actual buttons, and it's like all touchscreen related, and that I could see them maybe doing as far as their next handheld if they did it right. So that's pretty good. It's too bad he wasn't here to talk about it. He would have jumped on that.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. Butterworth was supposed to make it tonight, but he couldn't. He had other things to do. So maybe next time we can get him in here. But yeah, let me see what I have here. Actually, I think that was my last topic. If anybody has a topic they want to drop, go ahead. Anybody have any ideas?
I don't know.
Do you guys think that Nintendo will be the only console to go non-digital this next generation with the next consoles?
Oh,
'Cause
good one.
Nintendo probably won't go digital for sure.
They
but
won't.
you
They've
think-
already said they won't.
Yeah, you think the other two will be for sure?
I'm going to disagree because I don't actually think that it's for sure that Sony and Microsoft will. It's possible, but I think it might still be too early.
I think Sony will, only because of that whole their PlayStation Now thing.
The streaming.
Yeah, that's what they're trying. I think what they're trying to do is go toward that route. I don't think Microsoft's going to pull the trigger on it because of the simple fact of how everybody got pissed off with them with the Xbox One.
With the
So,
DRM.
I don't think Microsoft's going to pull the trigger on that yet. But Sony right now, the way they're acting, they're probably going to be the ones to do it first. And I don't know if people are going to respond the way they think they're going to respond to it.
I think it all depends on how they actually deliver their service if they do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, see, a lot of it's about this how they deliver the service, but it's also um, it's about that connection, that internet connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I say this a lot of times when I'm on podcast, people ask, I'm like, dude, there's some places where their internet speed sucks.
Right.
And to say that, oh well, the bandwidth ain't gonna be a problem. Yeah, have you been to rural South Carolina?
Seriously.
Okay, then. Don't just because you live in Atlanta does not mean somebody in you know Bucktown, South Carolina is gonna be able to get the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
I
Verizon,
actually,
they don't
I
have
actually,
they don't have fiber optic out there yet.
it's true. I live and work. I live in Denver, and I work up in the Rocky Mountains in the middle of nowhere, like right by the real life South Park, Colorado. And there are so many places in that area where I work where there is no internet. There are people who could not get internet if they paid someone $1 million to do it. So that's alienating, several 100,000 people in the United States, and that's just one country, who wouldn't be able to play a PlayStation 5, for example, if that's how they did it.
Yeah. And
So
I think that's one of the main issues of what happened with the Xbox One initially, because they were talking about always online, you had to check in every 24 hours. Dude, I was like, that's not gonna work. And the only reason why I was saying it was not gonna work because I grew up in Southwest Georgia. I know it's not gonna work.
Internet goes down sometimes too.
Yeah, and
Christmas.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was just about to say that.
Especially like with all this weather we've been having, especially like down there is hurricane season. You have to worry about. Up here is Arctic fronts. So
yeah, it's just it's not. We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not. But I think
maybe 20 years away from that even.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
It's
pretty far off. It's pretty far off. Let me ask you guys this question. When do you think, we've all talked about, talked to death about when Nintendo might release their next console. When do you guys actually see Sony or Microsoft doing theirs?
I'm glad you're going to say that because I was going to say this based on what the last topic was. And I just have a feeling, I just don't know because I don't think, I just have a feeling that we won't see a PS5. I just don't believe we'll see it. Partially based on what Sony themselves have been saying. They seem to be going towards that streaming thing. Yoshida had alluded to it beforehand. And
putting it on all their TVs.
Putting it in their devices, right? Putting it in their electronic devices. So their PS5 may be a streaming service completely. And as far as Xbox goes, yeah, I know, both these consoles obviously are selling great. But I think PlayStation is making a profit now. I don't see how Microsoft is making a profit. And the problem with Microsoft is that they've basically failed at what they set out to do. And this is based on their own, what they wanted to do with Xbox.
Their initial message.
Right. They wanted to make Xbox eventually into a all-in-one hub. Hence Xbox One. It was supposed to be the home entertainment center, And after the fallout early on, Cable Box One and all that nonsense, and the fact that television has changed so much.
It's on the way out.
Right. It's on the way out, and basically they were saying this stuff about Xbox back in 2000. Before it launched, they wanted to eventually be that all-in-one household hub, and they didn't see that far. They saw far on other things like broadband and all that. They were the first out there with the broadband, but they didn't see television changing so much. So, basically they've already failed to do what they wanted to do with Xbox initially. So I don't know if they'll make an investment to make another box. Microsoft doesn't need to do it. You don't need to.
See, how will they make money? That's the thing that I wonder, which goes back to kind of the question I was asking you, Jay, when you were talking too. It's like, how do they deliver the PlayStation 5 experience or the Xbox 2 experience, whatever they do there? And I mean, I literally am asking that rhetorically. I have no idea what the answer is, so I'm curious if you guys have any ideas. How would they make money off of the next Xbox if it's just a streaming service? You just pay for it. Do you buy the initial service or the app or something, and then you just pay for every game? Or
that's how I think it's gonna go. Like with PlayStation now, I think you have to buy that box, that little box.
PlayStation TV, is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, that you have to buy that, and then like you can actually download it to that. Because the PlayStation TV thing looks like a little Roku box.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's what you would have to do. But in the case of like Microsoft, and I'm not trying to hate or nothing like that, but it was reported that the stockholders haven't been making money off of that gaming division.
Right, and that's the thing.
I don't think if this ain't gonna make money, they might not be in it.
Yeah, I mean they're selling consoles in the tens of millions, but the thing is, they hide their numbers behind because they merge their console with don't they put it with the service tab? Isn't that all in the same kind of department?
Yeah, so
they can hide the numbers, right? And so we've never gotten real numbers on their profit. And this is not a hater thing. This is just based on what we know.
Yeah.
So there's that. Obviously in PlayStation, even though PlayStation 4 is making money, they still haven't gotten out of the hole of PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
The billions of dollars they lost on that thing. So,
I don't think they started making. They didn't break even till like late 2010, early 2011 on the PS3.
Right.
Yeah, it took a while.
And people hear that they started making money in 2012. Okay, great, but they were in this hole of billions.
Yeah.
So they threw some water in the bucket at the but they had to still get out of that bucket.
And not to mention like their other, because Sony is a conglomerate, so their other divisions weren't doing well, so you can't like shift money like with Microsoft. Microsoft could shift money to hide. Sony couldn't shift the money to hide it.
Yeah,
So,
they're literally in such completely opposite situations. Those two companies, it's crazy.
Yeah, and obviously, Sony is a lot more dire financial situation than Microsoft. Microsoft can, even though Xbox may or may not be making money, they can still, throw money at it, and they can afford to.
Like another 2 generations or something like that.
Well, they basically bought themselves into the industry anyway, because the first Xbox came out and it wasn't successful for a long time because it only had Halo for like the first 4 years. And any other company would have floundered right out of the gate and said, well, this was a mistake, no more consoles for us.
Right.
But Microsoft could afford to keep it afloat,
Exactly.
keep waiting for more and more games. Eventually people picked it up because they already had PS2s and GameCubes. And then the Xbox ended up doing okay. And that's when they figured themselves out and they knocked it out of the park with the 360, because the 360 really was a great machine. And so, most companies wouldn't have survived the first generation the Xbox went through anyway, but Microsoft could afford to fail for a long time.
Yeah.
And that goes with the whole complaint that people don't buy the Wii U and it has the better exclusives, but that goes in the same aspect. The Xbox has better exclusives than the PlayStation does right now, and they will.
PS4 is an anomaly, man. And I have one, and I do enjoy it for what it is. I don't hate it, but it's an anomaly. It's just so weird.
I'm a more PS4 fan than I am an Xbox fan to play all my games on. Like I play everything third party on my PlayStation mainly because I like the XMB a lot more. But I'm honest to God, I don't think any exclusive on the PS4 right now is worth buying other than maybe Infamous. And
Probably
it's like
just that, man.
It's like no lie, and it's like, and other than Bloodborne, but we don't know about Bloodborne because with the way the order came out and did, who knows how Bloodborne's going to be?
Yeah, I don't think that Bloodborne's going to suffer the same fate. I have complete faith in Bloodborne.
You know why,
I could
right?
be wrong, but because a
Right.
good company's making it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a Japanese company. That's why. Because they make good shit.
They do.
Because I think Shuhei Yoshida said it right. I don't know why this thing is selling.
Yeah.
And people got mad at him.
When even he doesn't know. That's
He
He
was
wasn't
honest.
lying though.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was a crazy quote, and that's why when we look at the state of gaming and stuff, this was I alluded to a rant I had about this, and I'm not going to go very deep into it, but like when you look at the state of gaming and you've got the PS4 with the least compelling library and the most like insanely impressive number sales, and then you've got the Wii U, a system we all love that most people will admit has the better library and is selling way worse than the competition. It's kind of the gamer that I fault. It's the gamer that I'm mad at. Like, what are we doing as a collective that we don't understand where our money should go and who we should support? Like, eventually, I have no doubt that the PS4 will eventually have a great kick-ass library when Bloodborne's out, when Uncharted's out, the next God of War's out, all these. It'll be a good system eventually. But it's not there right now. So why is it that people are buying the system with the least to offer and ignoring the system with the most to offer? It's the gamer who's making the poor buying decisions, in my opinion.
I think the mass majority of people that are getting the PlayStation 4 are people's friends of other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you got a PS4? Oh, I want to play with you. I'm gonna get a PS4
that
too.
Word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah, it's not based off of what the system has to offer. It's based off of this guy has a PS4.
That's like saying,
so
man, I hate Big Macs, but I saw that you bought a Big Mac, so give me 2 of those Big Macs.
Exactly.
I mean, Sony is a popular brand. It is you know, it still is. It's like I was talking about before. It's the mind share, and that's something that Nintendo can't match at this point, at least. That Sony mindshare, because Sony is a company that's been around a long time. They're in everything, or they were in everything, and you know, for the casual, you know, hardcore, you know, guy who pays attention to everything, video games. He, like I said, he's just gonna walk in the store and see Sony on the box, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I know all my people, all my friends or whatever, are using the PlayStation. It's the PlayStation, you know. It's a PlayStation is popular. It's been since its inception.
And you'd be shocked at how many people like still come into GameStops and stuff and think DRM is still something on an Xbox. Like, are you living under a rock? Like, what is your deal?
Yeah, they haven't been hiding that information at all. It's readily available. You know what happened.
So they don't know what the gamepad is. So is it a handheld?
Yeah. Is that something I buy and it goes with my Wii? No,
yeah,
it's
the people
not.
who still think it's a Wii thing. That's insane. So something you said. Oh, go ahead.
I got something to ask you guys real quick. Back to the whole new Nintendo system. Do you think Nintendo is going to be the first one to legitimately bring 4K to gaming?
Yes.
Because their games would look amazing in 4K. Like, out of all the consoles, they have the most colorful games and the most fun-looking games. Imagine seeing that in 4K. It would blow people's minds with the way how crisp it would look.
Let me put it like this: they're gonna be the first ones to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually what they do.
They're gonna be the first ones to get it right and make it work properly to the point where you ain't got to worry about changing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to be the first because they're gonna be. I believe they're going to be the first to drop their next console for everybody. And, you know, 4K, I don't think they're going to make that HD mistake again. It was kind of a mistake, but kind of not because HD, when the time Wii came out, it was
pretty new.
10, 12% of households. So it jumped pretty quickly. And, you know, they weren't ready for that. So I think they'll be ahead of the curve in the 4K when it comes to that. So
I can see that going 50-50. Like, everything you say makes sense, and that's what I was thinking of. Like, obviously, by the time they release this next system, it will be a good time to start jumping on the 4K thing, but it's also still so new, you know, where they may think it's not necessary, or they may make it something where it's not necessarily, like, mandatory, or only a few games do it, or maybe the system's capable, but it's up to the developer to make the game run in 4K, and most developers probably will be doing that. And so maybe they will, because I think you're right, T. They would be teetering on the edge of making the same mistake they made before. But as much as we love Nintendo, they can be pretty consistent with their mistakes sometimes. So I could almost see them missing the boat again. So.
And here's another notch to digital, going all digital next time. If 4K is the thing, that's more.
Yeah, oh my God! Imagine that file size.
Gigs. That's a lot more file size.
Forget about it. That's why I don't support digital. There's nothing good happening there.
It's not going to help your file sizes at 4K. So.
Yeah. Well, I will say this though: even if they do with the whole 4K thing, the problem is a lot of TV channels and cable channels are not ready for that. Right. The whole thing with the HD when it first dropped, there was only 2 channels in HD. It was ESPN,
sports,
and Discovery.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the only 2. And even I think it was like, I want to say it was either 2008 or early 2009 was when most of the channels started getting their HD channels. We started getting your HD cable boxes. You started getting your HD Direct TV boxes. Mm-hmm. So I mean, as far as the 4K thing is concerned, I think it's going to be one of those situations where they'll probably have the ability to do it, but at the same time, if like TVs and if TV channels and can't do it, then there's no point in making it where trying to make it standard, I should say.
I tell you what, though, if they actually did do it and they came out, and especially if they were really aggressive with the marketing, like we are the first console to come out that, you know, fully can and will support 4K gaming, and you can play the brand new Metroid and the brand new Zelda in 4K for the first time ever, and they're the first people to do it. Even if not a lot of TVs are out there that support it, people, the kind of gamers we talked about Nintendo wanting to maybe bring back and broaden their horizon, those are the kind of gamers that would get excited about a Nintendo system. If they're like, wow, that's where I can go do 4K gaming, people will get excited. Like Sony and Microsoft and PC gamers, that's the kind of stuff that they eat up. So it'd be really good for Nintendo's marketing if they did it to be really aggressive and promote 4K, 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 4K. People will jump on it. So
I think they'd be like, oh, wow, 4K kitty games, so what?
Well, they're probably also true. But they may come play those 4K kitty games.
They'll say that
4K Kirby
while playing Smash Bros. In 4K. So
yeah, exactly.
But here's the
Your
thing
eyes
about
would
4K,
explode.
is that I'd be happy when we get, we got to get the 1080p 60 frames first.
Yeah,
before we
that's
can
true.
worry about that 4K. So
That's something that Rich at Review Tech USA, who I actually do like, he brings that up a lot. He's like, man, this was supposed to be the generation where 1080 and 60 frames per second was like readily available, easy to do. We started trying that 10 years ago with the 360. How is it that we still can't get this done? And I was like, man, that's a really good point.
They're lazy.
It's rare.
it takes it takes time to get that stuff to work properly. That's why you keep hearing like developers saying, "Oh well, we're just gonna keep it here standard across everything."
Yeah.
Because they can't get it to work. It's not stable.
Yeah.
and the thing is, when you're catering to 2, 3 different mediums, that's resources you got to deal with as far as making sure that it's the same across the board, and that takes up a lot of your resources, I would think.
Yeah, it
that's
does.
why they can push Nintendo to the side, be like, oh, well, we ain't gonna serve Nintendo. We just, we don't need to work work with them over there, and we'll just, pay attention to the HD twins. Well, not the HD twins now.
Yeah, they're all HD. Yeah, but no, that's why I've always said that. I've always said exclusive. One of the reasons that the exclusives are always better is also for that exact reason. Because an exclusive, it doesn't matter what platform it's on, they can maximize the potential of everything that machine is supposed to output.
Right.
So it'll be perfect whether it's a PS3, PS4, 360, Wii U. It'll be perfect for that system, and that's why exclusives. One of the reasons exclusives are usually better.
Right, because these third parties seem to have issues optimizing their their software. So
yeah.
Having games that work too.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. All right. Is there anything else anybody want to talk about before we get out of here?
How many do you guys all have the new 3DS?
Yep.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
You guys, are you guys playing Monster Hunter or no?
Yeah, I got the Monster Hunter bundle. Yeah, I got the Monster Hunter edition. Yeah.
I'm gonna get your codes after this.
We should do that.
Yep. Mine are in they're in the what do you call it? The description of all my videos. I leave my codes for Wii U and 3DS in there. So
cool.
I should do that. I'm gonna steal that idea.
But yeah, I think that's it then. Great discussion. I just want to say I fumbled the opening because I was dealing with my children running around here, and I was so if anybody was wondering, what the hell was he talking about? Y'all probably don't remember, but I was fumbling a lot.
It went pretty well. I think we did just fine. It was okay.
Well, I was just trying to say about Justin 9 at 5. I'm a fan of his channel, and I just want to help him get out there because he has great content. And I feel the same way about you too, Rob. That's why I bring you back to the Tea Talks because I'm a fan of both of you guys' channel.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much.
Put you guys out there more. So
thank you.
it's one of the reasons I had you guys come in here. And Jay, obviously, you know the deal. So
Yeah.
You know the deal. Yeah, and that's what I messed up in the beginning because I said it was nice to meet you guys, and I was like, well, I've known Jay forever, so you, Justin, who has been nice to meet.
All right. So yeah, that concludes this episode of Tea Talk. Great discussion, guys, and let's go ahead and give our outros, starting with Justin.
I will not be posting videos for quite some time because I'm supposed to be actually having a kid like any day.
Oh yes,
like,
that's right. Congrats, man.
From now until Monday, so it's going to be kind of like dead on my channel for a little bit until I get time.
That's
Congratulations.
acceptable.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah, congrats.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
All right, everybody. It's Jay from the Game Cafe. Had a lot of fun tonight. I do have a video, a gameplay video going up tomorrow. Actually, it's already downloaded. Just gotta do a couple more things to it, but that should be up tomorrow. And I do have a podcast for the Geek Alley tomorrow night, talking about one of our favorite new shows, Halo Nightfall.
Yes, yes.
So check us out on the Geek Alley tomorrow night, and I'll catch you guys later.
All right, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so again, my name is Rob. My channel is Rule of Two Review, and I've been doing actually quite a bit lately. Definitely go, since we talked about this so much, I'll go ahead and let everyone know, please go check out my Question Corner number 4 video, which was about 2 weeks ago, where I did discuss my theories on the next Nintendo system. I go way more in depth on a lot of the things that we all talked about here tonight, so check it out and let me know what you think of my opinions on that. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a video where it's good DLC versus bad DLC, because I realize that there are times where DLC is handled really well, and so I kind of want to break down the difference between those two. So I think that'll be a lot of fun for people to check out. So that's kind of my self-plug. Other than that, I was super happy to be on the second T-Talk, so I always love being on any sort of podcast with Mr. T, the illustrious Mr. T. It's always a lot of fun. So thanks so much, dude, for having me on. It was really good to chat with you guys again, and so yeah, hopefully I get to be on another one soon.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you guys for joining, like I said. And I always link you guys in the video, so link your channels in the video. So make sure you guys are watching and listening to this. Go and subscribe to these fools, because they make excellent content. And thank you for joining us for this second episode of T-Talk. And whenever I get around to doing another one, I hope you come back. So, all right. And as far as me, what I got coming, I have a kind of a last-minute little video, another Attack of the Drones. Yeah, Attack of the Drones. It's been a while since I did one of those, and I got kind of pushed into doing another one. I'm sure you will enjoy it. So look out for that in the next couple of days. And yeah, that is it. And I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.